This is Making Light. Julie Hurt and Kate Fogger are soul-level intuitives and animal communicators. This show is about us sharing our experiences in the hope it will help others along their path. So let's go make some light.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Making Like Two Humans Being. I am Julie Hirt, and with me, as always, is Kate Foggo, my fellow CPP, certified professional practitioner of soul level animal communicator and soul level intuitive coach. With me, who lives in Scotland. I'm in the I'm in the eastern part of the United States. We are here together again, making light to humans being. Today we are continuing the theme of September, which what we've been doing is taking a specific workaround behavior. This month is procrastination, and then each week we look at it through the lens of a negative belief. So this week's negative belief is not feeling safe, secure, and protected, at which point Lucas decides to leave the room because he's like, I've had it. No. Not feeling safe, secure, and protected. And when we have not that negative belief dominating, I will say that's the word that I'm being given, because we're working on all the negative beliefs at any point in time in our lives. So when not safe, secure, and protected is one of the primary ones, one of the behaviors one may deploy to shield yourself, to help you through it, all that type of stuff, is procrastination. And that's what we're talking about today. Ta-da, lots of stuff. So I was actually asking my guides today about using procrastination as a means to not feel safe, secure, or as a means to work through, as in when you're feeling not safe, secure, and protected. And the one that they gave me, because I was like, when has this happened for me? Or what could we share today? My guide said to me, well, Julie, the only constant is change. And when change is afoot, which is, don't you know, that was the meditation that was based on today. Oh, that's so funny. There's funny. I have this, so I'm going to digress. I have the Channing Nicholas app. And so in the morning, I read my little horoscope for the day. And then whatever the little daily meditation is that the app serves up, that's what my husband and I do together. He really likes her voice. And so, but he's not the same horoscope as I am. I have his chart, but he doesn't have the app. But this is what he likes to do. So today's meditation was on change. Anyway, isn't that funny? So anyway, so the guys are saying, look, the only constant is change. And when change begins to happen, what Julie will typically do, and this is kind of my Taurus, a little bit of my Taurus, is I like to just kind of, I don't think I want to change. And I will go really, really slow on something, which is interesting because I balance my husband out. He's really impatient. And I'm like, let's just think about this. And sometimes I just don't even do anything about it. But they were like, don't you remember? And then they reminded me that when I got divorced, I was seeing a counselor, a therapist, and my mom wanted me to stop seeing the therapist. She's like, don't you think it's time? Like, you've had enough. Like, I think and not that she was paying for it. She wasn't paying for it. She's like, don't you think?
How dare you be so self-indulgent, Julie?
Exactly, right? Oh, there's so much there. See, thank you. I'm so grateful that they gave this to me. So she's like, don't you think you're done? And so I went to the therapist as the good girl would. I dutifully, this is in my 30s, my early 30s. So I dutifully went to the therapist and I said, my mom thinks that maybe it's time that we're stopping. And she goes, well, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I don't think I'm ready yet. She's like, then you're fine. And then she's like, you can tell your mom you have change disorder syndrome. I think that's what she called it. And I'm like, what's that? She's like, you just have an aversion to change. So, 20 plus years on, I'm like, well, many people have aversions. I mean, I don't know of anybody that likes constant change. But that's the only constant that there is change. There's no, it's always that. So anyway, I just remember, and the only constant is change. When change happens, I don't feel safe, secure, and protected. And so when that happens, then I'm like, I'm just going to not do anything. I'm just going to procrastinate about this. And that's my thing. What do you think, Kate?
I think procrastination is taking on a lot of new meanings for me, whereas I've been very much, even because obviously I do the editing of this, so I hear it all again, and I'm like, oh, did I really say that? That was stupid. Oh, that was quite good. Oh, we're quite clever, aren't we? Oh. Anyway, I do actually make little clips of the stupid things we say, and then I put them in a box, and I never tell you about them, do I?
No.
So there's suddenly a flurry of old silly out clips on social media, you know, it's because I've pointed Julie at all the things that I clip off and then forget to tell her about.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm having a more healthy respect for the I must say auspices, that's not the right word. The
Synchronicity?
The extent of what procrastination can
Oh.
incorporate. I almost want to look at the definition again, because I've been very vocal throughout this about, oh, I don't procrastinate, I do that, but I'm beginning to realize that there are less obvious ways of procrastination I didn't know were procrastination, as in dragging your feet about something. And I will sometimes, again, because I'm a doer, I literally won't even think about something that I don't want to, you know, like I don't see that as procrastination, but in a sense it is. It's like I'll just keep it just out of my eye line so that I don't have to think about it, because I know if I think about it, I'm going to be compelled to act and I'm not ready. And in some ways that's actually not a bad thing, because it's an awareness of the fact that I want to try and wrest it to the ground, and it's probably not time to do that. So it sort of simmers gently, and I'm not aware that it simmers, but it must do. It's on the fringes of your awareness. So I'm having a much more healthy respect for actually what procrastination consists of, or even if it's not actually procrastination, that sort of behavior and all the things that encompass, which is really what we're talking about here. Whatever the word means, it doesn't matter, but it is that behavior of putting something off or deliberately dragging your feet about something despite it. And that's what's interesting, is the definition is despite impending doom. I think the definition is, isn't it, is that somehow it's not in your interest to do that. Well, maybe we could argue maybe it's not the word procrastination, but actually there are some things where it's a good thing to put them off to the side and maybe just only look at them sideways occasionally, because it allows you to almost feel your way around it without getting involved. I don't know where that's coming from. That's just what came to me just now, because there were so many things during the week and I thought, oh God, and more about safe, supported, protected, because again, I'm sort of thinking that's not been a big one for me. And I've suddenly had this whole woof where I realize, whereas in the past, the not good enough and the not worthy have been workarounds for not lovable, which was another one I didn't think was a big one. I'm now realizing, this is even going to make me want to cry right now, is my not unlovable, which for me encompasses the not worthy, not good enough, is a workaround for unlovable. My unlovable is actually a workaround for not safe, supported, and protected. Because unless you are loved, who's going to take care of you? And now it's like, now I feel like all my workarounds are actually hinged on my desire to be safe. So that's been quite a big eye-opener this week, to realize that that is actually what it's all about for me. That's why you need to be loved. Why else would you need love? Be safe.
Wow. And even that, to me, like the guides are saying, there's like such a nugget in there that safe, like lovable means safe. Like you can't be safe unless there's love. Like that's an interesting, that's it. Because we were just talking about A Course in Miracles, right?
Yeah. A Course in Miracles. And I know that because I've been writing the acronym ACIM down. I was going, why I? But it's A Course in Miracles.
Yeah. What did I say? Did I not say that? Course of Miracles? A Course in Miracles? Oh. So we were just talking about that. And for me, one of the biggest things I took away from it was the difference between fear and love. And like basically, really, Those are the two platforms. You're either standing in something of fear or you're standing in something of love. And it's in being able to discern between the two is part of what the work is.
And being able to discern between the two is actually very simple. If you feel good, you're in love. If you feel bad, you're in fear.
Well, not necessarily. So when you feel good, because I just want to clarify, when you feel good about yelling at somebody for doing something that you think wronged you, you're actually standing in a place of fear.
Okay.
Right?
I wasn't thinking of busybodies. I was just thinking of generally, if it's just you. Now, I have to read this to you. This really blew my mind. Oh, that's you messaging me. Sorry, I'm just checking my phone because I can't find it in the book. This is a course of in miracles. This took my breath away. Read this yesterday, day before yesterday. The presence of fear is a sure sign that you're relying on your own strength. That's so fucking profound. Because Kate of 5 or 6 years ago, well, of course I am. You know, why wouldn't you be? And that was just amazing for me. Clarifies so much, particularly about, I think, where I am right now in my life, which is about it is all the struggle. All that struggle is about fear. All of it. If you just went,
kicked in by the ego, thinking, or telling you, and the ego is not always a bad thing. I also want to clarify that, because there really is no black and white, good or bad, right or wrong. The ego will work to keep you into that, many times into that place of fear. And that's to some degree biologically too. The more that I'm reading, the more I'm looking at my books, the more that I'm reading, the more that to some degree we're wired to look for the differences, because that's how we survive, not being attacked by,
I agree, but I wonder in modern day, whereas it might have been true for cavemen and, we were being attacked by bears and that. But I wonder, the whole nature versus nurture. Our environment, certainly in the developed world, don't know whether in other less developed countries, if they have the same, they probably have fear for different reasons, but ours, everything, the news, shopping is all about, you need this, and if you don't have this, you're going to die. If you don't, we've got this advert for Corsadil, which is something that stops your gums from bleeding. If you spit blood, your teeth are going to fall out, your face is going to cave in, and you're going to die. All advertising is like, takes everything to the nth degree. If you don't have this, you're either not good enough, or you're not clever enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not fashionable enough, or you're going to die. Our whole society is fear-based now. All of capitalism is fear-based. All of consumerism is fear-based. So I would be really into, and I know that's that old argument that nobody knows how to measure it, but if our culture was not fear-based, would our minds and our egos have adapted out of this fear? Because
that's to me what we're working on right now. This idea of the ascension that we're in this process was like, from an astrological perspective, you can look at it as Aquarius coming around. We're in the age of Aquarius, and I'm going to get that all wrong. Those of you who are truly, truly astrologers, you know what I'm talking about. Anybody who follows astrology, there's this movement. We're Aquarius is somewhere. Anyway, but we're in this age of Aquarius, and we've, some of us will talk about the veil is thinning. Humanity is moving forward. All the stuff that's been happening has been the darkness or whatnot being brought up to the light so that we can heal and move forward. There's all this stuff happening. And I feel like this is part of it too, as far as like looking at consumerism, looking at the backs on which consumerism was built, mostly people of color, that type of all that's being brought up so we can deal with it, so we can move on, which is all change.
What happens when we move on though? What changes?
I don't know. We don't know. That can't be attached to we can't even be attached to the change. We have to allow the change and ourselves surrender to the change and see where it's taking us to some degree, to a lot of degree. So, but we got off. So we were talking about fear and love. Oh, and that you were needing to feel loved
To feel safe.
in order to feel safe, secure, and protected. And I said, oh, isn't that interesting? Because there's either fear or love. It's just, yeah, there's something there. And I'm going to sneeze. So keep talking. I'm going to mute myself.
My first sort of spiritual teacher, Annie, would always say, like, there are only two, essentially, there are two emotions. One is fear and one is love, and everything is something in between.
And one or the other, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it's been an odd week for me along those lines, because it's, I don't know why, you know, safety is such a primal thing. Like, it's not logical, our safety per se. Not logical. And I keep meaning, my sister has a telepathy therapy. I'm pretty sure she has a PDF you can download about removing stress in the body, because I've been sort of with Eva Baronius talks about it as well, about when your body's in a state of fight or flight, which is essentially when you don't feel safe. Because I've started waking up again. I've got that feeling in the mornings when I wake up of like a physical manifestation of anxiety, and I'm not conscious, you know, it's physical, and I'm not really conscious, and it's how to talk your body down out of this state of anxiety. So I was going to download it, because, you know, I felt a bit stupid speaking to my sister, because I'm supposed to know all this stuff, and I do know all this stuff, but it's like sometimes you just want to go over it again. So I thought I might sneak to her website, download it. So if anybody else wants it, there's one on there somewhere. I'll put it in the links once I've found it. But I was just wondering what other, and what's interesting, I don't know, before we get off topic, but actually what's interesting to me about your body reacting in that sense is, for most people, you cannot talk yourself out of it. Your body responds to fear and unsafety in non-language terms. It's something much more primal. So, you know, you can sit there going, but I'm perfectly safe, I'm in bed and nothing can hurt me, but your body doesn't understand that. So if you've been a victim of trauma or abuse over a long period of time, or even in our case a lot of stress, even though logically you're like, oh, I'm all right, your body can still be in trauma, and your body, you can't tell your body what to do. You actually have to, like, bring the responses down physically, like a small child or a little furry bear, you know, and make it feel safe. I thought that was a very interesting, it's almost like there's this fail safe in the human body that shuts off the mind at some point and goes, well, you're talking shite.
Yeah.
You may think you're not safe, you may think you're safe, I know different, because actually all the stimulus you're giving it is, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. Whereas your brain is actually lying to you and saying, you're fine, just fucking carry on, keep going, you're fine. Anyway,
yeah. And actually what they're finding now too, biologically, is that the body actually reacts and then the mind interprets it. So much, because there's so many things where the human species has disconnected from I'll say, I call it nature. This, you know, where we've disconnected from one another, we've disconnected from ourselves, one another, and what I also say from the divine. As we disconnected from ourselves, not only means like our true self and our soul, but it also means just the body. We don't allow the body to be the informant that it is. And we, you know, even if you read, you know, Dr. Gabor Mate or Dying to Be Me, another book by a woman that actually was just so, she goes through this whole experience, she gets really, really sick, and then realizing it's because of all of these stories that she had been telling herself, or the ways that she had held herself back by whatever way she was taught to do so. She developed cancer, and I think she was about to die, and then she realized what all was happening, and now she's still alive. She's written a book, and we can put the notes in the author, I don't remember her name, I think she's of Southeast Asian heritage. Anyway, but we don't allow the body to feel, just like Ava Baronius, feel through where is it hitting you? What does it feel like? Do you have to move so that the body can move and get past it? So like in the middle of the night when I wake up terrified about something, and I try to connect with my guides, like, is it okay? Am I okay? That type of a thing. That's, again, using a different part of the brain or different part of the body or whatever. But I do many times feel like I'm being hugged. And then there is a woman that I work with. She's an astrologer and a psychologist. She's Dr. Jennifer Freed. And she had I'm going through this book that she wrote called we're the Soul Map Club, but she talked about doing this as a way to like get your brain, because you're hitting either side of your body. So it begins to bring you into your body. I think I'm going to get that wrong, I'm sure, but she showed us this. And so I've had a couple times of late when I'm feeling, oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, what's going on? I got to think this through. I got to think this through, but I need to get back into this. I'll do this. And it grounds me. At least allows myself to go and do a better grounding.
There's a technique, actually. I'll look that up. And there's something, Hastings. I don't know, I need to look up. There is one. I find rocking, actually, and it makes you realize why a lot of non-verbal people, it's very comforting. The thing is, if I do it in bed, Gary go, what are you doing? It's like, oh, that's no good for my anxiety either. Stop shouting at me, because he's sort of half awake going, what the fuck's going on? So sleep on your own. That's my advice. I it's comforting your body, because I can talk myself down and I can release emotions, because very often now when I get this, I immediately know that I've got a heart wall, and I can release the heart wall, which is emotions that build up around the heart. And almost every time now when I do that, I'm beginning to recognize it's a heart wall that I need to release. But there's also sometimes that's not enough, and then I have to go further and actually do some physical soothing, I think.
Yeah. So for you, procrastination and not feeling safe, secure, and protected. So what all have you been doing, or have you done as far as this goes?
As in terms of using that workaround, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's more the realization of what procrastination is for me, rather than actually tied particularly to not safe, supported, and protected, but then also realizing that what not safe, supported, and protected are. So I'm not sure that I've actually pieced together procrastination as a result of not safe, supported, and protected. But in mulling over the concepts, I have come up with two big eye openers. One being that the workaround of not safe, supported, protected is actually about not being loved, or not being loved is actually about if you're not loved, you're not safe. Because I was talking with, so again, it's not about procrastination, so not the two together. So do you have evidence of actual workarounds?
For me, for procrastination, safe, secure. Yeah. So when I and this is where the guides were helping me earlier today, is when I need to do something. So there's a couple of things that happen when I know that when I need to do something, but I don't feel safe about it, or it threatens my safety, I will procrastinate doing it. So so let's take I'm asking the guides for an example, and they bring my vision to my water bottle, which this is the board that I served on, that I was chair of. And there was a lot of stuff. I was really overworking and trying to get a lot of things done for it, right? Also because of not feeling worthy. So that's where overwork kicked into not feeling worthy, among other things. But then when it came to my health, being on that board was degrading my health. It was affecting my health negatively. And I knew it. I had evidence, physical evidence of it. I had a doctor telling me, I had our good friend Sally Heike telling me, who's also very intuitive. And I still was just like, and I had a personal coach telling, I had all these people, you telling me, everybody telling me like, you need to change this. And I procrastinated changing it because to take away the feeling, so it's also tied to not worthy, because to take away the thing that made me feel worthy, that would also threaten my safety. And also Alaska itself as a place has a really strong, I want to say it has a strong hold on me, that they're telling me that's not the right wording. There's a deep connection, and I can feel it like from my belly out, like it grounds me. Alaska as a place, the land, the energy around it just is really grounding. I feel like it's home. And I felt like that board was my one connection to Alaska. So it gave me that safe, secure, and protected feeling. And so to say, I can't do this anymore, I won't do this anymore, felt very much at the time, to be able to say that would have severed all of that and would have left me unmoored. It would have left me feeling really unsafe, totally unprotected. What do I do? How do I keep my land, spiritual, wild animal connection if I'm not tied to this place anymore? It really kind of threw me. And so I procrastinated letting it go until actually Sally had talked with her guides and said, this is what's happening. Like 80%, I think she said something to the effect of 80% of the effects of my heart, because I was having heart issues, actual cardiac issues. 80% of it is this. You let this go, it will resolve your physical, which is so cool, because here's the thing. So I since quit, and I just had to have, my doctor wanted me to have a cardio calcium score. And I just learned all about this. So I had this calcium score where they take a whole scan of your body. They can see like where the calcium deposits are or something in your blood or your vessels. I don't know. Someone who knows this knows better. But I just got the results in the mail. And the best score you can get, the best score you can get is 0. I got 0. So clearly, but yeah, so there's an example of procrastinating, thinking that if I didn't take care of something, my safe, secure, and protected would remain intact. And yet,
yeah, and I can see that evidence of that in my life, where there's something I don't want to do, and it's typically I don't want to do it. So like I think actually the whole thing about not wanting to get in touch with workmen and stuff like that, because that's not really about not being good enough or not being lovable, because you don't expect that from workmen. I think it threatens my safety to have to put myself out there and have to speak to people, because I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know what. I suppose it's because they're strangers. Like it's not something, again, that's logical to me. It's not logical, but it's the fear of rejection in some way, which is fucking ridiculous. Who gives a fuck if a work? Yeah. No, I won't come and cut your hedges, Mrs. Fogger. Oh, boo-hoo. But what do you know what? Talking about rejection, I had this wasn't even last week, it was a week before. I'd completely forgotten until I saw her again today. I was at the nursing home sitting with my mom, and I wanted to speak to the nurses because my mom's got a few issues going on, and there's a lot of care assistants around, but there's only like one nurse. And I saw her go into the office, so I went, knocked on the door. She's always really lovely, and I opened the door and she said, "Is it really important?" And I was like, no, it's not. She said, "Is it really important?" And I said, "No, it's fine." And she said, "Okay." She said, "It's just I've got a sick." They had a sick. I was going to say inmate. They had a sick patient. Well, I don't know, person.
patient.
Well, they're not patients. They're resident. They had a sick
resident.
resident.
Okay.
So I shut the door. Perfectly normal. Oh my God. I went through an entire flush of rejection. And I'm sitting there going, why am I reacting like this? What she said was completely reasonable. I know it's not personal. Somebody's dying upstairs and she was on the phone when I'd gone in trying to get a doctor. And I went through that whole physical flush of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that happen? And my heart was hammering
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. And I'm sitting there going, you know, trying to talk myself like, I know it's not personal. It's not that she doesn't like it's, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, yeah, I was trying to be kind to myself, but there's a bit of you, there's a big voice and you go, what the fuck? Why is that, Julie? Why would something like that happen? I don't understand it. That it's still so, that we're still so vulnerable even when we know better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she came to me immediately afterwards. She said, I'm so sorry. How can I help? But that's, I suppose, what I worry about when I phone people, that I was doing some, anyway, it's not safe support. Anyway, so that's all not safe, supported and protected. That fear of rejection, that fear of being ridiculed or pushed out or whatever, it's bizarre.
But that's all it can be. All clearly be tied. I mean, I think tied to feeling not safe, secure, and protected.
Yeah.
If you're rejected, you're pushed out of the nest, so to say.
Which is
So that
so
means,
not a thing these days, you know. Oh,
but
I mean,
if your body still reacts that way,
yes,
is it?
and that, but
Yeah.
that's what's so odd, that it's such a visceral feeling as well, when the reality is in this day and age that, you know, you're not being pushed out, but you're not going to get stoned to death by the mob, or, you know, you're not really in danger.
Well, there's different ways we stone people to death now, right?
I have to say,
We got trolls and stuff.
say again,
Trolls.
trolls, yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's different ways we stone people to death. We still do the ostracizing and the shunning. Oh, I heard this great quote the other day for all of us outsiders. I was listening to, did I say this last week? I feel like I brought this up last week. So, excuse me. So I brought up the Surgeon General, I think last week, Dr. Vivek Murthy, and he's got this podcast. He's the U.S. Surgeon General, and he does this great podcast. And he was talking to his mentor, who was a woman physician, one of the first. She's like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This is how I say, she's like the Ruth Bader Ginsburg of surgeons, doctors in the United States. I don't know why I make that comparison, but she was talking about how being she was like the only woman in her class of all men, right? But she made some comment. She was talking about how young people, and everybody really needs to hear this, where it's like, she said, oh, do you feel like you're an outsider? Like, kids will come to her and say, you know, I'm an outsider, don't fit in. I never feel like I belong. And she's like, oh, congratulations. Because when you're an outsider, that means you're of the future. And I was like, whoa, that totally hit me in a good way. Because I just thought, because I've always felt like an outsider in my own family and in most places, right? Except for our community that we're a part of with Danielle McKinnon. That's like the one place I don't feel like an outsider. And here at home, I don't feel like an outsider here at home. Although I did at first, when I first started doing this, I'm thinking back, you know, I felt like my husband wouldn't understand it. He's actually super supportive. Anyway, but that rejection thing, you know, if someone rejects you, yeah.
I guess it comes back to, because I was at boarding school, and although I was never like bullied like ruthlessly or anything like that, we had a strange group. Our dormitory was a very strange mix of people. Just, I don't know why. I don't know if we were leftovers from other groups. So I had a girl who was in my class who was a friend of mine, and then we had a girl who was the same age of us but was in a younger year, and then there were two girls that were, although they weren't, one of them was a bit older and her sister was probably our age, but they were very much more mature than us, like years more mature than us, just because of different ways of being brought up. And so it was an odd mix. And the last person who arrived on a Sunday before school started used to be ostracized for whatever random, no reason given. So I had been on both sides of that. I had been the one who was ignored, and I had been one who ignored because you just went along with it. And I don't know if it just brings all that back, because that was all sort of like something that was not terrifying. It was just horrible. It was just to be with a group of people and them to act like you're not there at all.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand why, and I'm ashamed to say I went along with it the next year when it wasn't me, because I didn't want to be the outsider again. I didn't want to be the one. It didn't last very long. It was only a few weeks, but it's a tough time. It's hard.
Yeah.
And the girls were behind it with the older ones again, which I didn't really understand. But even one of them was a victim of it one time. It's almost like everybody got in the room and started talking, bitching about the person who's not there. So that by the time they came, they were I don't know, like who comes up with this shit?
Patriarchy? No, I don't know what to say.
That was all girls, actually.
I know, but like we're taught to go against one another. Sorry, I try to pull the Elise Lunan on our best behavior book and patriarchy into everything now, which drives Brad crazy in a fun way because he thinks it, he does it, he sees it. I'm off topic, but anyways, my question to you was rejection, this fear of rejection. Do you procrastinate in an effort to not tangle with that fear of rejection?
Yes, I think that's what the work is about, which again, logically, where's the connection between phoning a workman and potential of rejection? But who knows how the mind works,
right?
Because I don't think it's any of the other negative beliefs, because I don't care if the workman knows if I'm not good enough or not worthy or what, those are not, but it is the rejection thing. And I had my accountant, well, he wasn't actually my accountant. So this is a gentleman I went to see, and he was very helpful when I started the business with the shed, because there's a lot of tax implications, especially given the building work and what tax relief I could get for that. And how I love a spreadsheet. Obviously, I kept immaculate records and everything. And then when it actually came to filing the tax, not the first year, but the second year, because actually the whole year of building, and I had all these expenses that could or couldn't be claimed, and all had to go through them all. And they said not to file the taxes the first year, but the next year, because until you start making money, you don't file the expenses. So I had 2 years worth of immaculate accounts, and he just stonewalled me and stonewalled me and stonewalled me until I was just like, what the fuck's going on? And then I got a really odd email from him firing me as a client, and that went woof straight into not safe, supported and protected, because I was like, clearly he, everything logical goes, something's going on in his life, he's fucking lost it. But I went into, I'm too much, I asked too many questions. This is ridiculous, Kate. That's why you have an accountant. I can do everything else myself. Why do I need an accountant? Because I need him to answer the tax questions that I can't answer. If it's logical stuff, I can fucking read the internet, same as everybody else. I can read the rules. It's the subtleties I don't understand. But whoa, I went through a real big, I never paid him for all the time that he'd spent, because I was like, he did it like literally 2 or 3 days before the deadline, and I just had to do it all myself.
Wow.
But yeah, immediately into, there's something wrong with me. I'm the, and so I guess there's a bit of not lovable in there, but given the fact that it's not somebody you have that relationship with, I think it comes down to, I'm not safe because you think I'm different. I'm the outsider. So therefore I'm safe. I'm not accepted. I'm not part of the clan or the group or the whatever that, yes, there is a theme with that. So maybe but I mean, that's only happened 2 or 3 years ago. My fear of workmen, mechanics, predominantly men, of course. I think that's not safe, supported and protected, not wanting, I don't know, not what, just not wanting to go there. So I just won't until it absolutely has to be done.
Yeah. And even the not wanting to go there, that's procrastination too.
Totally. Just like pretend it hasn't happened.
Isn't it interesting how much more fraught this was than I originally thought? Because I thought, okay, I'm not a huge procrastinator, but do I? And then my guys are like,
Yeah. I was like that. What are we going to talk about? We're going to run out of steam after a week. We'll be like that. Right, no, that's one dry. We'll have to start another one.
Yeah. Instead, it's like, oh my gosh, look how long we've been talking about this. We've got to go. Yeah, so procrastination as a way to not look at safe, as a way to not feel safe, secure, and protected, or to feel safe, secure, and protected. We'll see, but yeah, clearly lots there. So
Yes.
awesome.
Well, I guess that wraps it up then, Julie, for another week. And next week we will be, I think, starting our next theme, which
Yep,
also is it bravery?
it is.
It is bravery. Woo! 10 points for Miss Forgo. Right, so we start with non-bravery, which I think we start with not worthy.
I don't know. I wrote out the schedule and I
so we'll surprise you. We'll surprise you.
will surprise you.
We might mix it up. We might make it something completely different. But our next theme is bravery, which is another one where I have no idea where this is going to go, Julie. But let's see.
Okay.
So you may follow us here on YouTube. Please do. Please subscribe. We have 98 subscribers last time I looked. Please let's make it to 100. Please forward us on to your friends and family or anyone who you think would enjoy us. And we are coming to a podcast near you very soon. Very soon. I have done my research. I'm ready to press the big red button. I just need to sort out a few admin details on how to do that, and then you'll be able to, but then you won't be able to see our beautiful faces, so you can
That's not true. Oh, well, yes, you can still do the YouTube, right?
Yes, we'll still be doing a YouTube, absolutely. So please join us
Mhm.
here. Do subscribe here. You may also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. And we are making light to humans being Julie Hurt and Kate Fogo, and wishing you a very good evening.